Hi, everyone. We're going to wait just a minute. It seems some people's audio is still connecting. And more people seem to be joining. If you take this opportunity real quick to maybe jot down my email address, jmoren, M-O-R-E-N, at smharbor.com. And at the after the meeting's over, after a little presentation here and questions and everything, if at some point today or tomorrow, you can shoot me an email expressing your company's interest. And again, we want, I only want kind of a list of firms that are interested in being the primary bidder. I'm not a sub, but the primary bidder. And then if you could also take a moment in chat to just write your email address. I'm just going to try my best to compile a list of interested parties, primary bidders that I can, contact persons that I can create a contact list that I'm going to send any addenda to. So I'll send everybody that's interested. I'll BCC everybody that's interested, that has identified themselves as their firm being interested in this RFP. Anytime I do an addenda, I'll send it to you. But I also encourage everybody to continue to check our website. And I'm going to put that up now. It is smharbor.com. smharbor.com. And then that will take you to, there's the link right there to this project page. You can look at where it just says open RFPs, and it'll take you to this particular project page where you can see all of the detailed request for proposal and the scope, etc. And then I'll also be putting a recording of this meeting on there as well. All right, I'd like to go ahead and start now, and I'd like to welcome everybody, and I want to thank you on behalf of the San Mateo County Harbor District for your interest in this project. And here are, on the top left there, you see my email address, John Moore. I'm Director of Operations, jmoren@smharbor.com. And then again, right below that is the link to the project page and some key dates. Today, obviously, the 22nd, we're having our pre-bid conference and virtual site walk. I just have found that the era of COVID and people not being able to, or working remotely more frequently, it's not as convenient for people to actually go to sites all on a specific time and date. So I don't want to preclude anybody from, or any firm from, being able to, or make it as easy as possible for people to bid on the project at any time. You know, obviously our properties are open 24/7 to anybody that wants to come by and look at the site in person. And most days, if you shoot me an email, I'd even be able to go over and ensure that you had access to whatever it might be. I cannot and will not be answering questions individually. I'll only be answering written questions and requests for modifications, etc., in the form of an addenda. So March 1st is when all the written questions and requests for modifications, etc., will be due by end of the day, close of business. However, I'll be trying to answer any questions that you guys may have and shoot me an email in the form of an addenda as soon as I get 3 or 4 questions. So I'm not necessarily going to wait all the way till March 1st for the first answer, or March 8th is when the answers are supposed to be, my responses or the district's responses to your questions are supposed to be due. I'm not going to wait necessarily till March 8th to answer questions in the form of the first addendas. I usually do a few addendas in answering the questions so that it gives you as much time to accurately prepare your proposals as is possible. Then April 5th, the proposals are due by 2 p.m. and we are allowing those proposals to be submitted via electronically, email, in the form of 2 PDFs. One PDF will be your technical proposal. The other PDF, a separate PDF with your cost form. So we want to keep those separate because your actual technical proposal will be evaluated by our little committee first, and we'll be trying to determine which firm's proposal is best suited for the district for this particular project based on the criteria that we've laid out in the RFP. And after that, we'll be then opening up that proposer's cost form and going from there. So proposals will be due by 2 p.m. on the 5th. As I get, you can turn in your proposals whenever you've got them done. You can send them to me April 4th if you wish. As soon as I receive your proposal, whether it be the day before or whether it be at 1 p.m., within 10 to 15 minutes of receiving it, I'm going to be emailing you back, letting you know that I have received it. If by 2:10 you've not received a confirmation that I got your proposal and you submitted it electronically, that would indicate there was some sort of a glitch. And so please email me and I will get back with you and we'll work it out as quickly as is possible so that we can receive your submission. So with that, let's get right into the little presentation today. I ask that you hold your questions till the end, can make notes of them. Don't put questions in the chat. I'd rather have those questions verbal here so that everybody can hear the answers, and I'll jot down any questions that I don't know the answers to now, and I'll be answering those in the form of an addenda, again, before the 8th. So the Tuller Point Harbor is largely a commercial fishing pier. We've got there off of Johnson Pier, you see on the screen in front of you, Johnson Pier has largely commercial fishing boats. And then off to the west, you see the 3 docks. Those are our ABC docks, and those are largely recreational vessels. So this project is going to be taking place at the launch ramp, obviously, and you can see it pictured over to the east there. And what we've got is 3 lanes of 2 each areas for trailered vessels to be launched. They've got floating finger piers for people to tie their boats to temporarily while they go park their vehicles and trailers, and to get on and off the vessels easily as they take off and return. Here's a more close-up view, still an aerial view from Google Maps. What you see there on the bottom portion of the photograph is the actual launch ramp lanes. Then going north, you see that there is.
We can't see the screen. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, you can't see the screen?
No.
Melanie, can you see it? Okay, let me start over then. Melanie, can you see my screen right now?
Gotta
Nope.
click share and the number, right? Click the number. You gotta click twice. Got it.
All right, sorry about that. Everybody can see it now, I'm assuming. Melanie, you can see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, well, I'll just go through again here. So those of you that are visual learners, you can see that my email address, top left, jmorin@smharbor.com. And then below that, we've got the link and everything. If you go to smharbor.com, which is our main website page, you can then just scroll down so you don't have to have this entire link. You can scroll over to the projects page and then the open request for proposal RFP page, and you'll be able to see this project. So let me go over this again here real quick. This is a kind of just a bird's eye view of our entire Pillar Point Harbor. And we've got there off Johnson Pier, as I said earlier, we've got the commercial docks. Those are largely commercial fishing fleet vessels. And then at the terminus of that pier, we've got 3 fish buyers. And then over to the west, to the left there on the screen, you see the 3 docks. Those are largely recreational vessels. And then off to your right, to the east, you'll see where the launch ramp is. All right, and again, I already kind of went over this verbally, but the bottom part of the picture is the 6 launch ramp lanes, which are largely used for recreational vessels. We do have some smaller commercial fishing vessels that utilize this launch ramp, but largely it's very active, very heavily used launch ramp for recreational vessels. And as you look a little bit more to the upper right of center, you see where it says restroom. That's where the restroom building is. And I'll get some close-ups more of that in a moment. Here's a view from looking to the east from the west as you drive out to the launch ramp. And then here's a view of the launch ramp, the 6 lanes, 2 in each one of the wells for vessels to pull in and launch their vessels. So this area, you can kind of see it in this photo. It's so big right now, it doesn't look as clear, right? But you can see where this concrete area in front of the launch ramps, it's kind of a big circular turnaround area. That concrete area has been degraded over the years. So the entire thing needs to be resurfaced. We're gonna have to leave it part of the request for proposal here is for the chosen design engineering team to recommend the best method, whether it is demoing the whole thing and tearing out all of the existing concrete and reinforcement bar that's underneath it, or if it's better to potentially remove an inch of it somehow and replace it with some sort of fiber concrete, airport grade type concrete resurfacing. We're going to have to ask that professionals kind of guide us in what would be the best way. And in your proposals, we'd ask that you, put up some ideas so that we can compare all of your ideas. Here's another bird's eye view of the launch ramp, and a little bit on the north side there at the top of that concrete turnaround area. And also you'll see that there is a trench that is designed to capture water coming off of vessels. And it's just like a 4-inch wide trench that has a grate over the top of it. This trench has been redone in the last 2 years. So if at all possible, we'd like to just maintain the trench as is. However, if you look over to the left further, you'll see where the stormwater interceptor is. It's those two, you can kind of see it in the photos. It's a concrete area with two caps on top, if you will. And the water drains naturally, gravity drains over to that filtration system before it is then allowed to go back into the harbor. So that whole water interceptor filtration system will need to be updated, replaced and updated. Here's another picture of the launch ramps themselves. As you see, there are 3 actual wells, each wide enough for 2 smaller vessels to launch at the same time. And those pilings that support and guide the actual flotation fingers for the launch ramp, those pilings, those concrete pilings are all in good shape. They've been evaluated and they are in good shape. So we would want to, when replacing the floating portions of the dock that allow the docks to ride up and down on these pilings, we'd want to reutilize those same pilings, replacing only the floating portion with, we believe to be the best, longest lasting alternative, concrete encapsulated or foam encapsulated concrete floating docks. Similar, but not necessarily the same as like Bellingham concrete floating docks. And then there's multiple other manufacturers nowadays as well. However, in your proposals, if you have a lot of experience with other types, I know that there are multiple different types of floating docks, actual timber, and the artificial wood, with aluminum or stainless steel frames, and plastic encapsulated floats. It is our belief at present that we're leaning toward believing anyway that the ferrous concrete floating fingers would be the best alternative for longevity. All right, and in this photo, you can also see the breakwater. That's our inner breakwater. And there's also an outer breakwater, which keeps our waters relatively calm. So these docks don't take a real beating. Here's another picture of the existing, and you can see they are a timber fiberglass mix. with just plastic encapsulated foam floats. And those floats over the years have become dislodged, have become infiltrated with water and marine organisms. So again, we're believing that the encapsulated foam, ferrous concrete, floating fingers would be the best solution. That said, because of the 6-foot tidal range that we have here, it is true that no matter what we do, these floating docks, portions of them anyway, do end up resting on the concrete at the extreme low tides. So just as is pictured here. So whatever solution is determined that we're going to go with, that has to be taken into consideration. And those shoreward floats under the floating docks, under the floating fingers, will need to be strong enough and angled such that they can accommodate the extreme low tides. Here's a picture of the V-grooved prefab sectioned concrete that incorporates the bottom, the actual drive on portion of the launch ramp. And you can see how it's just outlived its serviceable life, just like our floating docks there. It's getting large ruts in it, and the V grooves have become smooth significantly, that with any kind of growth, if we don't keep them cleaned and all the algae off of them, it becomes very difficult for the trailered vehicles to get enough traction to pull the trailered vessels out. In fact, sometimes they get so slippery that when people are backing in with the weight of the vessel and the trailer, that as they put on their brakes, the vessel continues to slide backwards. So we're definitely in need of replacing the entire launch ramp, not just the floats. Here's an aerial shot of just so you can get a perspective of the size of the restroom, the current restroom. And we are anticipating wanting to put something about the same size, only we want to add exterior drinking fountains and some outdoor showers for beachgoers, etc., and even the fishermen that may want to rinse off after a day out in the water. But outdoor showers, much like that are at local beaches, not any indoor shower rooms. And we're talking about four stalls in total, 2 for each, and then the designation being, of course, ADA, but also the more gender fluid, consistent with California state law requirements. Here's some more shots of the current restroom, which has outlived its serviceable life. I'll show you some more pictures in a moment where you can see some of it's just a timber building that the wood is all rotted, and wood-boring organisms have taken their toll. You can see here, though, in the top left picture, where we do have at present that's where a pump out is located. It is a an area for the smaller boats that have the porta potties on the vessel that are removable, where they can just pour their waste into that pump out and rinse it out. So we'll want to leave that one in place. It's in good condition at present. We may have to, depending on the design that you or whoever the winning bidder is presents to us, it may have to be relocated. And if we end up relocating, we'll probably just replace it. And then you see the little podium there with the signage. We would want to also have either that same one improved upon, beautified, with some educational, marine life, conservation type signage. Here's another picture where you can better see there right in the middle, where you can see the deterioration of the wood. That timber building again is just in very poor condition. Here's a close-up of some of the rot that's throughout the entire building. And again, here's photo inside, which we are going to want the new facility to be 100% ADA compliant with the 2 stalls in each area. I guess it'll be divided into 2 areas. I'm not certain that we can necessarily call them male and female anymore. And we're also going to be open to any other ideas as far as a totally different design, where it could be just like a walk-through covered hallway with multiple individual locking stalls. And we do want the restroom to be resistant to graffiti and vandalism, but in a perfect world, not 100% industrial looking. Here's another picture of the left side, the east side of the building on the left, and then the back has you can see there, it has a door going to a utility storage closet, which we would also want the new building to have. Just a small utility closet, because of its remote location, we would want to be able to store a mop bucket and cleaning supplies in a small storage closet. Here's a bird's eye view of what we consider to be now our boat rinse station, which is just simply a place where boats pull over, the trailer vessels pull over next to the curb, and there is a water spigot there to where people just hose down their boats, and all of that water from hosing down the boats then goes the entire length down to that 4-inch grate that I showed you earlier, where it is does go through a filtration device before an oil separator, before being pumped back into the harbor. But we would want a more designated area for a new boat rinse station, potentially even something that is coin operated, that has a low spot in it, where with a grate and everything, where all of the water would be filtered and potentially reused, the vast majority of the water reused for the next person that is rinsing their water. But a lot of it would become, I guess, exposed to a lot of salt water. So we'd have to have some salt filtration system, if such is available. We do at our Oyster Point marina have a coin operated boat rinse station that does somehow, or is somehow able to successfully filter some of the water anyway for beneficial reuse. So we'd want to have something like that. Again, we have to rely on the winning bidders' expertise in this area, or their sub-consultants' expertise to advise and to come up with the best proposal with the current space allotted. As you see there, you can see that long red container. That is not on our property. So the district's property actually ends right where the asphalt, the concrete ends there. We do not have room to expand the turning area and boat wash into that area there, regretfully. So we have to work within the space we have, but we are open to a total different design of that entire area. You can see off to the right, the bottom right of that picture, where there's kind of just an empty square. That was where dumpsters were designed to be, but it's a pretty large area. So that area is underused. So want to potentially eliminate that, and it would make the entire area available for a nice boat wash to be a little bit bigger. The center island, likewise, can go away, and maybe something much smaller to kind of direct traffic. Again, allowing for more area and a more professional boat rinse station. Here's another photo of what we consider at present to be our boat wash station. It's not really a boat wash station at all. It's just a spigot with a hose there in that little blue enclosure. This also gives us an opportunity to better look at the deteriorated state of that entire concrete turnaround area. It's in very poor condition within the cracks or the sections where they had expansion joint, I imagine at one point. Big chunks of the concrete are missing from those areas. Again, our launch ramp at Pillar Point Harbor is, I would say, one of the most heavily used launch ramps in California, if not the entire country. It's I've got to say, I've been to a lot of launch ramps in my life, a lot of heavily used launch ramps in Florida. Our launch ramp here is the most heavily used launch ramp that I've ever been to. We often have lines of people waiting since 4 a.m. and they're still waiting at 10 a.m. Lined all the way out to Highway 1, all the way down the road that access Johnson or Pillar Point Harbor Boulevard, all the way to Cabrillo Highway. So it's a very heavily used launch ramp. All right, that's pretty much all I've got about the project at present. And now I'd like to open up for any questions anybody may have at present. And again, don't feel like you have to ask every question right now. I'm gonna again put this this little presentation on our website, and you can review again if this project sounds like something you're interested in, you haven't reviewed very thoroughly the request for proposals. You can also review the request for proposal again come up with any questions you have and shoot them to me in an email. I will be asking or answering those questions as rapidly as is possible. You know, I'm not gonna do a different addenda for every question, but once I get 3 or 4 questions together, I'll do an addenda. I'll be sending that addenda to each of you that provide me your contact information expressing your interest as a primary firm that's going to be bidding. And then I'll also be putting it on our website. All the addendas will be going onto our website as well. All right, if you want to hit the raise hand icon, I'll be able to call on you one at a time if there's any questions at present. I did see a question regarding the attendee list for today. This presentation, we didn't make it mandatory. So the firms that are attending today are not necessarily the only ones that will be bidding on this project, but I will try to accumulate a list of those that attended today and put that attendee list, the firm names, no contact information, but just the firm names on our website. We, of course, have to be very transparent with with everything we do as a public entity. Melanie, are you seeing any hands raised?
Nope, there's no hands raised.
No, I'm having a hard time finding the button. If I was going to ask a question, be in your opinion, how's the fiberglass dock held up, the boarding dock?
I can't say that it hasn't held up well. It's just the weak links, I guess. You know, this is the current dock, or the current is a combination, and there's a lot of timber, and the foam, encapsulated foam, plastic encapsulated foam floats underneath the current fingers have been a weak spot or a weak point. Whereas, of course, the encapsulated, foam encapsulated, concrete encapsulated floating docks don't have that weakness. They're all just one solid rectangle, if you will. All the foam is completely encapsulated, or at least I've seen some docks, some concrete floating docks where the bottom is still exposed foam, but again, the sides and the top and everything are all concrete, so it's just not as susceptible to the elements and the organisms that attach to them. And you know, and then of course, whenever you're cleaning you know, our staff have to clean the growth off of all the docks occasionally and periodically, and just that abrasion does seem to wear through the PVC or plastic that encapsulates the foam, making it more weak areas. Does that answer your question, Bob?
Yeah, for the most part. I got one more question. During high fishing season, have you guys put out in the past like temporary docks in the vicinity of the launch ramp for increased use, or is that still a thing, or what are your?
There's been discussion. You know, this is the launch ramps are. If you look back at the picture of aerial, you'll see that the launch ramps are actually on the outside of our inner breakwater. So they're between our inner breakwater and our outer breakwater. All of our current floating docks are within the inner breakwater. So those docks are well protected, if you will. It does get pretty rough out in that outer harbor area. So there's not really been any discussion of putting like permanent floating docks out there. We are expanding our docks, creating more floating docks within the inner harbor. But I don't know that it's really feasible or realistic that we will ever actually increase the size of that launch ramp area, having instead of 3 wells, if you will, and 4 floating fingers, going to 6 or 8. We've got our high times, our very busy times, where more lanes would be beneficial, but it would really be, I think, a significant project that would take years, if not decades, of if we were going to expand into more of the natural area. So that's just not in the plans at present. And just having more floats or making longer fingers, I don't think is going to help us any, because it's really more just everybody waiting for vehicles and trailers to clear. The length of the current fingers is sufficient for the number of vehicles that can get in there. It's actually probably a better idea to make any more vehicles kind of just stand off, or vessels stand off in the harbor, versus having them all tied up and then more vehicles, if you will, all at the same time, waiting in line to have their vessels towed out. Does that answer your question, Bob?
Yeah, that did. Thank you so much.
All right, any more right now? Again, don't feel like this is the only opportunity to ask questions. I'll be answering them, as I say, as quickly as I can, if any written questions. And I won't be answering any questions, whether phone calls or whatever, or personal emails with any individuals. I will be answering all questions via addendas. So everybody has a completely equal opportunity and has all the same information. All right, if no more questions, I'll end this presentation. Again, I appreciate everybody's interest in the project. And I hope to be seeing a lot of proposals for us to evaluate. And again, we appreciate everybody's attendance. Thank you.
Thanks so much.